So, I've been dodging spoilers for weeks because I was way behind on Peacemaker Season 2. Finally sat down, binged episodes 1 through 3, and wow, just wow. I was not ready for half of what went down. And hey, if I missed this much, maybe you did too. So think of this as our collective catch-up. I'm breaking down everything I just saw, what it means for the season ahead, and of course, I'm Echo, and welcome to Niche Bits. So, quick reset. If you want to quickly recap on Season 1 of Peacemaker, check out my previous video of it. After Project Butterfly, Chris is trying to live his best new life. One night, he wakes up to let Eagly flap around in the quantum unfolding chamber. Yes, he actually has that thing in his house now. Passing by the ever-silent kyphotic alien, still creepy as ever, Eagly stops at a strange door. Chris opens it, and there's a hidden trophy room filled with relics from some mysterious superhero trio. A totally classic setup for trouble. But before he can snoop, who shows up? An alternate version of his father, Augie Smith. Chris slams the door shut like a guilty teenager. Fast forward 6 months later, Chris is back in the Peacemaker suit and teaming up with Adebayo. By the way, she's completely flipped her life, divorced Kia, and exposed her mom dirty ops, and now she's in private security. Their mission? An interview at Crank Toys, where Chris is desperately trying to join the Justice Gang. Now, remember, these guys don't exactly like him. Last time they showed up late to fight the butterflies, he also puked all over Guy Gardner. Not the best first impression. So of course, Guy, Hawk Girl, and Maxwell Lord shut him down, instantly rejected like a bad Tinder date. Meanwhile, Emilia Harcourt faces rejection from several intelligence agencies, and her psychiatrist diagnoses her with toxic masculinity. She hits her car's dashboard in frustration and returns to her apartment, where she meets Chris waiting for her, and with her knuckles bruised, he treats them. When he asks about her failed interviews, she bitterly admits they went poorly and dismisses their drunken hookup on a party boat as a mistake. Offended, Chris storms off in frustration. That night, Chris hosts a wild at his house, unaware that John Economos is secretly surveilling him under orders from Rick Flag Sr. While on watch, John gets a call from Adrian Chase, who rambles about Al facts before heading to his job at Fennel Fields. At the same time, Agent Sasha Bordeaux updates Flag Sr., noting that the same strange glitch first detected at Chris' home in January has reappeared. Flag orders John to dig deeper. John later photographs Chris standing outside the quantum unfolding chamber, but decides not to report his discovery. Later, Chris re-enters the mysterious room and encounters alternate versions of his father Augie and his brother Keith, who Chris had accidentally killed in his own world. They share drinks and reminisce about the past, with Chris emotionally telling Keith he loves him before leaving. Elsewhere, Harcourt gets into a bar fight, while John turns to Adebayo for help regarding the chamber. Chris, meanwhile, is suddenly confronted by his doppelganger. He flees, but the alternate Peacemaker corners him inside the chamber. In desperation, Chris activates his jetpack, hurling his counterpart into a suspended object. Mortally wounded, the alternate Peacemaker dies in Chris' arms, leaving him shocked and confused. 8 months ago, Rick Flag, Sr., newly sworn in as director of Argus, who replaced Amanda Waller, is given a tour of headquarters by John Economos. His first priority is reviewing the complete reports on his son's death, which fuels his growing hatred toward Peacemaker, the man responsible. Despite the agency's gratitude for Peacemaker's role in ending the butterfly invasion, Flag Sr. orders Agent Sasha Bordeaux to place him under constant surveillance. In the present, after encountering and killing an alternate version of himself, Chris Smith struggles to dispose of the body. He calls Adrian Chase for help. Back at Chris Smith's house, Economos resumes his surveillance, this time joined by Agent Langston Fleury, sent by Bordeaux. As Eagly soars out when the front door opens, Fleury remarks to Economos that he suffers from bird blindness and cannot identify what kind of bird Eagly is. Inside, Adebayo shows Chris a photo Economos had sent her. Having considered it unremarkable, Chris never mentioned it. Adebayo also warns him that Flag Sr. is monitoring him, and that his role in killing Rick Flag Jr. is known. She advises him to surrender the chamber to avoid prison, but Chris hesitates. Chase soon arrives, offended that Chris hadn't invited him to the he hosted days earlier. When Smith enters the chamber, Fleury alerts Bordeaux, who orders an assault on the house. While the strike team prepares, Chris and Chase dismember the alternate Peacemaker's corpse and burn the remains. During the process, his counterpart's phone slips out of his pants, revealing photos of him with the alternate Harcourt. Later, Chris reunites with the 11th Street kids on the rooftop of Harcourt's apartment, while Fleury and his squad raid the house. The strike team is met with swift and brutal resistance from Eagly. At the party, Chris confronts Harcourt about her reckless behavior, particularly her bar fights, voicing concern for how she has spiraled since the dissolution of Task Force X. Harcourt retorts that she sees through him, recognizing his unspoken desire for her to be just as broken as he is. Returning home drunk after the falling out, Chris cuddles with Eagly before unlocking his counterpart's phone. He attempts to message the alternate Harcourt, but the text fails to send. Desperate, he enters the chamber and crosses into the parallel universe. There, he listens to the doppelgangers of his father and brother discussing their missing relative. Just then, Chris receives a text response from the alternate Harcourt, ending with a broken heart emoji, sparking his curiosity. 3 years ago, Rick Flag Jr. and Amelia Harcourt discussed their strained relationship, with Flag Jr. unwilling to end his involvement with the dangerous sorceress June Moon. Shortly afterward, he deploys to Cordo Maltese to lead Project Starfish, basically a direct callback to the first Suicide Squad film. 3 years later on Earth 2, Chris Smith awakens in this universe to a worried Keith Smith. Having arranged a meet-up with Agent Harcourt, Chris hurries and puts on Earth 2 counterpart attire. Confused, Keith instead directs him to use the peace cycle. Riding through the streets of an alternate Evergreen, Chris is met with applause and exaggerated admiration from the townsfolk, recognition he had never experienced in his own world. In the aforementioned world, a hungover Adrian Chase and Leota, Harcourt continues her conversation with Adebayo, once more reminded of her crippling well-being. Ignoring Chris' positive attributes and his obvious love for her, Harcourt refutes the concept of ever forming a couple with him. Meanwhile, inside Earth 2's Argus, Chris encounters Flag Jr., the very man he had killed during Project Starfish in his home universe. Suspicious and jealous, Flag Jr. regards Chris warily. Soon after, Agent Harcourt approaches Chris and invites him to spend time with her outside. Elsewhere, Economos is summoned by Sasha Bordeaux of Argus, who briefs him on Eagly's violent attack against Agent Langston Fleury and his squad the previous night. Later, while exploring Evergreen, Chris and Agent Harcourt share hot dogs on a park bench. Agent Harcourt presses him on why he sought her out. Chris opens up, admitting he has been trying to reform himself and improve both his own character and, inadvertently, that of his counterpart, who had broken her heart. Apologizing on his behalf, Chris listens as Agent Harcourt considers the possibility of rekindling their relationship. Their conversation is cut short when the terrorist group Sons of Liberty hijack the Evergreen Department of Motor Vehicles, planting cephalalol explosives throughout the building in a bid to cripple government operations. Springing into action, Chris disarms the bombs and kills the entire group with the help of Keith under the guise of Captain Triumph. Their victory is met with cheers from onlookers. Meanwhile, at St. Ambrose Hospital, Economos joins Bordeaux and Fleury. Bordeaux announces that Argus will soon raid Chris Smith's house to apprehend him for possessing the dimensional portal. She introduces Red St. Wild, a renowned eagle hunter brought in specifically to neutralize Eagly. Horrified by the plan and unwilling to cooperate with St. Wild, Economos is reassigned to partner with Judo Master, much to his dismay. Unaware of the incoming raid, Chris returns home after a serious conversation with Keith regarding the concerns of both him and Augie Smith. 3 episodes in, and it's clear this R-rated freedom isn't just for shock value. It lets the show be raw, emotional, and brutally funny in a way no other DC project can. But what do you think? Is the rating the key to its success? Let's get a conversation going down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, do me a solid and hit that like button, subscribe for more niche bits. See you in the next one.